Hi, my name is Laura and I'm definitely a scientist. But it's not always been that case. When I first thought about what am I going to do with my life, I didn't think that I was smart enough or that I had the math skills or any of the skills, quite frankly. So when I was in school, I thought, yeah, I'm going to study English literature and musicology. I'm going to be a rock star. Given that I have the singing voice of a dying duck, that did not work out. What did work out, however, was the move towards science.
But Laura, how did you do that? If you don't have a background, then you're probably just lying.
Girl. Since I finished my bachelor's 6 years ago, I have gotten a Master of Science in a degree called Music, Mind and Brain. I've gotten a Master of Research in something called Connected Electronic and Photonic Engineering. And I'm in the second half of my PhD that focuses on brain-computer interfaces for soft robotic actuation. I'm pretty secure when I say I'm a scientist. So how did I move from wanting to be a rock star to building brain-computer interfaces? Well, it had to do a lot with overcoming my fear of science in and of itself. Not the fact that I was not scared of science as a microscope. No, it was more, I don't know, I've seen integrals, I still see integrals and I want to run. But it gets better. Oh my god, it gets better, guys. My grades in school, specifically in the ones that you would think are important for science, like math, physics, biology, chemistry, the lot. Well, I was gay and depressed. What did you expect? Exactly. It didn't help that my physics teacher, when I was 12 or something, also said, oh, science just isn't for girls. And what I heard was, I have less to do. Which I think was a very fair conclusion. And nevertheless, at some point, I realised, okay, first of all, I can't be a rock star. Second of all, this is kind of interesting. And the curiosity of it all got to me. And in this case, the curiosity didn't kill the cat, it killed the fear. And what I've learned is that the most important bit about going into science is that you can't be scared to be wrong. Now, I'm great at being wrong. I've been told many times that I'm wrong. So going into science, being oh no, that's wrong, I was typical Monday, eh? And I think that helped a lot because it made it much easier to overcome this oh my god, what if I'm wrong? What if someone thinks that me not understanding this equation is the reason to get me up? This is called imposter syndrome, and funnily enough, even professors that are running centers for doctoral training still have that, which was the most reassuring thing I've ever heard. Everyone feels like they are not good enough to be there. And you know what? Maybe that's why I fit in so well. But this video is not about me. Well, it kind of is because I'm talking, but that's not the point. The point is that science is your friend. Like I said, the most important thing about science is that you have to be able to be wrong. There are very few hard-ground facts and rules that dictate the world. And that might shock some of you because, oh, but I learned in school that, for example, the brain is separated in these 10 different areas. Which, yeah, that's, to a degree, that is correct. But it's also a gross simplification. And a lot of science communication has to toe this line between misinformation and accessibility, because not everyone wants to learn the entire background of the brain just to understand that, oh, this is where I think. You also think everywhere else, but this is a lot where you think. Trust me, I'm a scientist. Let's stay with the brain for a little bit. We are taught, even in neuroscience degrees and higher degrees, that the brain has different areas that do different things. For example, the area that's like right here is often associated with auditory processing. And while that is correct, there's also many other things that fall into that area, and sometimes some auditory processing doesn't happen in that area. You have to treat a lot of facts in science like Schrödinger's facts. And a big part of that is because everyone's brain is so unique, and that's not a way of me saying, oh my god, we're all so special. It's a way of me saying my work is so much harder because everyone's brain is so different, and you have to be able to develop systems that apply to everyone's brain. Because you can't fine-tune something for everyone, as much as I would love that, but not possible. Another aspect is that the more we learn, the less we know, or it at least feels that way. While I said that there's very few hard-ground truths out there, 1 + 1 will always be 2, at least in the system we as a society have chosen to go forward with. And while this mass over there is still giving me migraines, 1 + 1 is still 2. And that's something that sometimes is really nice to remember, you know? So it's important to remember. If you can't remember that, it's if you're not 3, maybe get that checked. If you remind yourself while you're learning, hey, okay, deep breath. I don't understand this entire new thing, but I still know all the other things that got me here. And sometimes that is enough. A lot of physics I only understand because of music, which is the most backward way of going around it, but even neural communication I only understand because it's kind of like an instrument. Very complex instrument that nobody knows how to play. So why is this so important? Why is it so important that we talk about science as a friend? Like, why is it important to me? Why is it important potentially to you because you've clicked this video and have now sat through a lot of my ranting and yapping and opinions? Well, the world is changing really, really fucking fast. Especially with AI in the mix now. Everyone has an opinion, and everyone can not only look up their opinion and back it up with facts, but the same way someone can ask AI for facts and just get grossly misinformed. It's kind of important that you talk to the scientists that maybe you know, I didn't know a single scientist because I grew up working class in the middle of Germany. But we have the opportunities now. And trust me, a lot of scientists are desperate to talk about their research. I know I am. And while sometimes it might be tricky to communicate your very highly specialized field of research to someone that just doesn't know things, it doesn't mean it's impossible. I personally think that the most important part, if you're interested in science and you want to learn, the most important bit is that you're stubborn. There's this entire myth that you have to be smart to do science. Trust me, you don't. Like, yes, there's a lot of background knowledge that sometimes is required, but if you're stubborn enough to go through that, and if you're curious enough to go through that, that's half the rent. I didn't do well in school. I did really poorly in school, which for a lot of people is the pinnacle of measuring your intelligence. But most importantly, nobody's going to go around, quiz you, and then grade you based on what you did and didn't understand. And if you're learning, you always have the opportunity to go back and redo things. I think we're at a point in our time where actually understanding something, even though you don't understand a lot, but you do understand that very well, is so much more important than being able to I know everything, I don't understand anything. Just thinking about the social implications of that type of learning and understanding and science in itself. Like, science inherently is political, science inherently is a societal product. Because we all thrive from, or we all should thrive from, scientific discoveries. So they are being supported and funded by society. Obviously, that's all more of a dream than the current reality, but I think that's why it's so much more important to actually talk about it, to reach out and to remind you that science is indeed your friend. And like with any friendships, if you put in a bit of effort, if you're a little bit stubborn, but charming, you can befriend science. If you want to see me talk more about science or just my thoughts in general, which I have a lot of thoughts, then consider subscribing. And I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!